I was uncertain about doing another video before E3, but I suppose I just can't help myself, so I'll do one about E3. Not a whole lot to say this time, just a little something to set the mood. Make no mistake, E3 2015 will be a tough act to follow. Even though it is yet to pay dividends in terms of games that are actually in our hands at the moment, it set a great example of what E3 is supposed to be all about on several occasions. I don't think you could truly fault anyone for anticipating maybe not an off year, but certainly a less remarkable one, and I just wanted to take a moment to make the case for another epic. Let's start with the low-hanging fruit. If Nintendo's goal from the onset was to get expectations nice and low so that virtually anything that happened was just gravy, they did a good job. Initially declaring that even with a holiday season to churn through before we get our hands on their next platform, or the only announced killer app that they have in the pipeline for that matter, Nintendo's original E3 plans revolved exclusively around said killer app, The Legend of Zelda. Such tunnel vision on a single title is unprecedented for a major platform holder at E3, and somewhat predictably Nintendo hasn't stuck by it, declaring on fairly short notice that they do intend to put their floor space at the LA Convention Center to use, even if only to sell games like Pokémon Sun and Moon, Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE, and Metroid Prime Federation Force, perhaps. Any talk of the upcoming NX platform, which it should be noted is slated to hit the market before next year's E3, remains on the shelf. So I might as well just leave this sign here. Down the road at Microsoft, things have to be far more relaxed. The mood surrounding their software lineup is generally positive. Their presentation last year hasn't been bombarded with asterisks and errata to undercut the hype. And all told, they have to be reasonably comfortable with where the Xbox One currently stands. They're really most likely the company best positioned to get away with a paint-by-number E3 should they decide to take that route. In fact, if the past year has been kind to Gears of War 4 and Scalebound, that may go a long way to getting them through the presentation right there. They do have a stopgap console in the works in the Xbox One Scorpio, but the confirmation has already come in that they won't be talking about it in LA, and it might not even be ready to hit store shelves by this time next year, so pencil it in for holiday 2017 and next year's E3. Now, Sony undoubtedly stole the show last year with 3 huge moments that effectively distilled the essence of everything E3 is supposed to be into a fraction of a press conference. The problem is those moments were all undercut after the fact by various issues. Final Fantasy VII's remake was the moment that series diehards have been clamoring for since that initial PS3 tech demo years ago, until after E3 when the team behind the remake proved indecisive about even the most critical aspects of the game, like its battle system. The Last Guardian's appearance at the top of the show was a feel-good moment that proved Sony remembered the long-anticipated title, and even put it on track for a 2016 release, only for it to promptly reclaim its place on a milk carton the moment the show ended. Finally, confirmation of the once long-shot Shenmue 3, combined with one particularly enthusiastic fan at game trailers, provided what may have been the all-time definitive E3 moment, and emphatically underlined Sony's push to make everyone's dreams come true at their conference, and then a funding source miscommunication controversy and a still far-off tentative release window of December 2017 conspired to dull the hype. Sony has plenty of goodwill to recover after those issues, but they may also have the greatest means with which to deliver, not the least of which being the fact that they're likely to benefit the most from Square Enix passing on holding their own event this year. Also of note for Sony is that they too have a stopgap console in the works in the PS4 Neo, but once again it will not be at E3. Noticing a trend here? I will always declare it a positive when hardware manufacturers don't have hardware to talk about, or for whatever reason don't want to talk about hardware that we know they have on tap. Generational transitions, or simply new devices to game with mid-generation, are always exciting times, but they also see a lot of press conference time wither away discussing resolutions and teraflops and caches. One of the best pieces of advice I could give any company planning an E3 press conference is actually quite simple. Any time that you spend talking about anything that isn't software is time you could spend talking about software. Thus, although it preemptively sours my anticipation of next year's E3, the fact that the big three have, with a partial exception for Sony's PlayStation VR, no real desire to discuss hardware this year tells me that they're looking at a particularly software-centric E3, and honestly, that's the best kind. So that's all I really wanted to talk about this time. No deep topics of discussion, no putting anyone on blast, just a little something to try and get a hopeful tone going into E3 week. Here's hoping I'm right.